Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may happen to be in the world. Welcome to the IAG Live Streaming Show. It is Friday, the 14th of November, just a couple of minutes past 10 a.m. here in Macau. And yes, I am in the office. I'm actually in the IAG office for once, which is quite a rare thing given all the travel that I do these days. So it's quite fun to be here. And as always, we have our intrepid studio producer, Oscar. Come in, Oscar. That's not Oscar, that's a story.
Yeah, sorry. Wrong buttons.
So, Oscar, sometimes we're on opposite sides of the planet. Today, we're about 10 meters from each other. You're over there. We can wave to each other. We're both in the office. Quite unusual to be in the office together. How are you, Oscar?
All fine, all good. Fantastic.
Good. You're always fantastic. That's good to hear. And very good. Well, only a few weeks to go to the end of the year. We, as IAG always traditionally does, we close the office on December 19. That's our magic day. We all go and have lunch that day, and then we're gone until January 5. So we've got a break coming up soon. So, but a few more weeks to go, Oscar. All right. Talk to you next week.
Bye.
And we should bring in all the way from Sydney, Australia, managing editor of IAG. It is one Ben Blashke. I thought I'd dress down, Ben. What's going on there?
Well, yes, but I don't have a coat hanger still sitting in my background, Andrew. So at least I managed to avoid.
That's a permanent fixture, the coat hanger. That's where I hang my jacket up in my office. Come on.
Exactly. There you go. Look, it's casual
Friday. Do you want to get rid of that coat hanger?
I think we're all feeling a bit relaxed now that Power 50 is done and dusted for the year. So this is my relaxed vibe.
Very good. It was a great Power 50, wasn't it? You know what? Let's hold our comments on Power 50 because we've actually got a story on that. So let's talk about that when we get there. So let's get into, we've actually got 14 stories to bring the viewers this week. Quite a lot to get through. So let's get into it. So we've got a couple of stories on Macau satellites. So all the Macau satellites slowly closing down one by one, Ben.
Yeah, well, Andrew, as IAG reported in June, I think it was, that the decision had been made that there will be no more satellite casino operations as of the 1st of January 2026. So all of the existing satellites must either wind down by the end of this year or be acquired and become wholly owned by concessionaires, wholly owned and operated. So since then, we've seen 6 satellite casinos closed down or announced their closure, with Casa Real being... Legend Palace here, of course, being one, but Casa Real another one now. So 6 of those 11 are confirmed to be closing. All of them will be closed by the end of next week. That leaves 5 currently open, 2 of which SJM has said they would like to acquire, which is Pont 16 and Lark. So that means there are 3 more that will definitely be closing by the end of the year, and we'll see what happens with Pont 16 and Lark.
You know, it's funny, Macau Legend. I was at the opening of Macau Legend. I was out the front there when it opened. So I've been in Macau the entire time Macau Legend's been opened, and now through to its close. And it wasn't that long ago that it opened, actually. I mean, there was a Macau Legend before. I was at the opening of the Legend Palace, actually, when they did the expansion. You know, when I first sort of started coming to Macau very first started coming to Macau, 2005, but started basing myself more permanently here at 2009. I remember being quite confused by the satellite casinos. You know, you'd go into these casinos like Rio, President, Waldo, Oceanus, the various Dragon casinos. And, you would hear that there are 6 concessionaires in Macau: Sands, Galaxy, Melco, MGM, Wynn, and SJM. But these casinos seem to be owned by none of them. And then you talk to people in Hong Kong. Oh, yeah, my brother owns a casino in Macau. And I'm like, how can this be? I don't understand. This is only meant to be 6 concessionaires. But of course, they were under, each of these satellite casinos were under the license of one of the concessionaires, mainly SJM, although Galaxy had 4 at one stage. They had Grand Waldo, which ultimately became Broadway, President in Rio, and even Melco had one. What was it called? It changed its name a few times. What was it called in the end? Dragon Palace or something?
Yeah, Grand Dragon. Yeah.
Grand Dragon, right? Very small one near over on the Taipa side, near kind of near the racetrack. Yeah, so it was sort of hard to understand. There's historical people ask, why were there these satellite casinos? And there were historical reasons for it. They were basically to appease certain interests who wanted a bite of the gaming industry, and they had a bite of the gaming industry prior to the liberalisation in 2002 under the old monopoly, which ran from 1960 to 2000 and then was extended to 2002, the Stanley Home monopoly. And these guys were either connected to junkets or had rooms within rooms or whatever. And under the liberalisation, something had to be found for them to get something. And this was one of the ways. There were other ways too that it happened. So this is sort of a historical thing. And I remember thinking when I heard about what they were and how they work, that won't last. I mean, decades from now, they'll be gone. Well, here it is, decades from now. I remember saying nearly 20 years ago now, that will eventually go somehow. I don't know how, I don't know when, but the government can't love that. And here we are, and they've gone. It was actually announced in the relicensing 3 years ago, wasn't it? Back in late 22 for the relicensing that began on the 1st of January 2023 that they would go. But then they got a 3-year reprieve to January 1, 26. Well, January 1, 26 is only 50 days away, actually exactly 50 days away from today. So they've all got to go. So interesting, the history of satellites in Macau, and that's all coming to a close. Wonder what will become of some of these buildings.
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, some of them are very, very small operations, but some of them are in, quite grand hotels and quite sizable. So, certainly, I guess the 2 questions are what will become of some of these companies that are operating these satellite casinos. Certainly for some of them, it's going to be a major financial hit. And then, of course, what will become of the buildings themselves? Some of them will obviously just become, just hotels. But how viable will they be, and what will happen to the surrounding area?
Well, we need hotels in Macau, don't we? We don't have enough hotel rooms, so that should be a good thing. And I think we won't mention it now because we're going to get to it in the story. But SJM's taken quite a hit financially, and this is part of it. Matt perhaps get you to do some commentary on that when we get there. Anyway, we've got 13 more stories. This is quite a long one. Let's move on. So what's the next one, Oscar? Oh, here we go, the Power 50. Well, what did you think of the Power 50 on Friday night, Ben? It was a great night, wasn't it?
Well, I assume it was, Andrew.
Oh, you weren't there. That's right, you weren't there. You're usually there, but you weren't there this year. Oh, your loss. It was great. It was great. Well, I'll have to commentate on this since I was there. That was a really good night. We held it at Grand Lisboa Palace, of course, there at SJM, and they were really good. They were really, really good. Great food. Great service. There's a lot of F&B tradition in SJM. They've got, what have they got? 7 Michelin stars in Grand Lisboa. This was, of course, at Grand Lisboa Palace in Cotai, and it was there at the Grand Pavilion. And then we had the after party at Mesa on the 3rd floor. Just a really, really good night. We had around 300 guests there. Everyone was in black tie. Almost everybody was in black tie. Very glamorous. Ladies all dressed up, of course. And it was a great night announcing the list. 18th year of the list. Ben, well, you certainly had a lot to do with the list. Why don't you give us some commentary on the list itself, which was, of course, announced at the dinner on Friday night?
Yeah, well, obviously, Andrew, you and I worked through this quite hard on this year's Power 50, and of course, with the input of our 9-man judging panel, we sort of gradually over time came to our 50 for the year. Obviously, Francis Lloyd topping this for the 7th year in a row, and of course, many familiar names in the top 10 and in the 50. Pansy Ho at number 2 from MGM, of course, Melco's Lawrence Ho at number 3. Patrick Dumont was a notable mover over the years. Andrew, I've seen him move up into, I think he's number 7 this year.
Well, I'll tell you another notable mover, Pansy Ho. I mean, and she even wasn't in the list at one stage many, many years ago. And then when she came in, she was down in the 30s or something. And she's made her way all the way up to number 2. And I don't know, Oscar, if you can zoom in on that a little bit. It's a bit small on the screen, but if you can zoom in on the scores there. But look at their I could make it out. France is 6,045 points. Pansy Ho 5,843 points. So only 200 points behind. And last year, I think she was 2,000 points behind. So that's been a huge jump up because MGM's done really, really well this year, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, MGM's been the big mover post-COVID. Market share has gone from around 9.5% pre-COVID to, I think it was around 16.5, 16.6 recently. At its peak, and regularly now around that high 15 into the 16 mark. So that's a massive change for MGM, which was always considered to be the smallest of the concessionaires, and now really punching above its weight for multiple reasons. And of course, Pansy Ho has an interest in SJM as well, and of course quite many real estate holdings around Macau and in Hong Kong. So certainly a highly influential person in Macau, across the art scene as well. Very well-known figure there. So, I mean, she's been a huge mover over the years. And it's just interesting to see because Andrew, of course, there are various movements among the concessionaires that, as we say, Patrick Dumont is moving higher. There's changes every year as to how this interplays. So, Francis Lloyd 7 years in a row at number 1, but who knows whether he'll be there at number 1 next year. That's very tight.
Yeah, look, it's very tight at the top there, and he's done. I mean, take nothing away from Francis. He's done an amazing job over the last, well, not just 7 years, but 20 years really. And Galaxy Macau is a real behemoth, and it's just an amazing property. And I don't think there was any dispute. I mean, some people sort of say, oh, it's a bit boring, France is at number 1 every year, but it's not about being entertaining. It's about being accurate and about being right. And I don't think anybody, one person has come and said, you're wrong, he's not number 1. I mean, everybody's begrudgingly sort of acknowledged, look, you can't be marked wrong for putting him number 1, but there potentially could have been, I think Pansy would be the obvious other one that, well, clearly because she was number 2, that could stake a claim to that. And let's see what happens next year. And there's a picture of Kevin Kelly accepting the prize on Francis's behalf on the night. They're from Maria Helena Tessena Fernandez, the director of the Macau Government Tourism Office, who sat next to me on the night at the head table. She's a lovely lady and big supporter of Macau and does a lot of work to try and promote Macau all around the world. So look, it was a great night. And mark it in your diary for next year, the 19th Asian Gaming Power 50, Friday, the 6th of November, 2026. It will be in Macau. Haven't yet announced the venue, but we're planning on announcing it very, very soon. We're going to announce all our events very early this upcoming year. So that'll be exciting. All right, let's move on to the next one. Yeah, I'll leave you to do this one, Ben.
Yeah, so this was based on some comments that were made during Melco's earnings call late last week. Obviously, the analysts were asking some questions around margin. Is there room for expansion in the future? What's sort of holding margin expansion back? And of course, Lawrence Ho, the chairman and CEO of Melco, made some comments that sort of harked back to comments he made last year about MGM's promotional activities, and there was a bit of back and forth between Melco and MGM. A little bit of that was referenced again in this earnings call, but essentially Lawrence was talking about the fact that the competitive environment in Macau is still hindering margin expansion. He was also asked about the impact of smart tables because we know that in Singapore, Marina Bay Sands completely overhauled the way they think about theoretical hold in rolling baccarat. So the question was, are we going to see the same thing in Macau? And the answer was not yet. We're sitting at about 3%, Theo.
Yeah, I think we will. I think we will one day, but I think it's a bit early. I think it's too early. I mean, I think smart tables, two main companies doing that in Asia, WDTS and Angel. I think smart tables are going to really totally change. It's going to be one of the biggest things in sliced bread. Going to really totally change the way that senior executives, gaming executives, think about hold and action on a floor. Eventually, they'll take away rolling. I mean, why do you need rolling? Why do you need mud chips? A lot of people won't know that expression, mud chips. CPVs or non-negs, they're also called. Why, or rolling chips? If you've got every bet recorded by the smart table, you don't need that anymore. And I think that whole system of rolling could change. A lot of things could change because now you've got the data that we could never possibly have in the past. So, that comment that you made about Marina Bay Sands totally I mean, it was always 2.7%. It was always 2.7% was the amount that you made on rolling, which is losing bets. Approximately 1.35% on actual real turnover, which is amalgamation of a blended average of the house edge on baccarat, or now I'm testing myself from the old days, 1.05%, I believe, for banker, player more like 1.1%, tie 9%, I think it is. And the blended average of those based upon the sort of traditional weightings of revenue would come out at around 1.35, which would be, let's say, 2.7. Yes, I know ties. It depends whether you count ties as turnover or not. Don't think I don't know that. I do. 2.7% was the magic number. Well, that's just been blown out the window now by a combination of two things. One, all of these extra side bets with bigger house edges, and two, smart tables keeping a better track of all this has actually affected the percentage, because we've got better track of what is actually happening on the table. There are less mistakes, all these sort of things. So it's super interesting what's going on there with smart tables. But you were saying that he was harking. I must confess, I haven't had a chance with the Power 50 and everything to listen to this, but I certainly listened to it when he did it last time. And he sort of complained about MGM and all the promotional activity. And then Bill Hornbuckle sort of came back at him and said, well, look at our bottom line. The promotional activity is justified because our bottom line's good. So how can you complain? Was he basically repeating that sort of stuff, but a bit softer, or what did he say?
A little softer. I think the general Melco, what they were sort of saying is that the promotional environment, the competitive environment, has calmed down somewhat. It's not. I think they said it's not irrational now.
Less competitive, or just everyone's got used to it?
It's not that it's less competitive, but that I think they said it's not irrational spending now. Of course, I think some of the other companies would disagree that they were ever irrational. But Melco's sort of, and they just sort of reference the fact that it has been irrational in the past, but they said it's still very competitive.
Well, you could argue that because the turnover's been going up, right, which we'll get to that story in a minute, you could argue that the same spend with increased turnover is more rational than that spend would have been less turnover, or less GGR. Anyway, I apologise, I interrupted you. Go on, Ben. What was he saying?
Yeah, I mean, that was a general sentiment that, the promotional environment is not irrational at the moment, but it is still highly competitive. And under this current competitive nature, that margins are a little compressed.
Look, competition is a good thing. And again, I'm going to say another I told you so. I remember, again, 10, 15 years ago, everybody was making so much money, and the saying was people were stepping over money because there was a bigger pile of money past a smaller pile of money. So you step over the smaller pile of money to get the bigger pile of money. Well, it's not like that anymore. It's now uber competitive. I mean, Macau is a highly competitive environment. Everyone's got their stuff together and they know what they're doing, and there's no stepping over piles of money anymore, and that's a good thing because competition breeds excellence. Look at monopoly environments, you tend to get tired, stale, old casinos or tied-style old businesses in any industry. But when you have a highly competitive environment, it keeps everyone honest. So, and it keeps people striving to do the best they can, which Lawrence is doing. I like Lawrence. I think he's, has he made a few missteps? Of course he has. Who hasn't? But he's not one to be scared of trying something, is he? He's Sri Lanka's opened up. He's doing that. He's always making moves, Lawrence, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He was in for Japan. That just didn't work out in their favour in Yokohama there. He took a bit of a stab at Australia, which didn't work out so well. He's in Cyprus, of course, now. Obviously, just always looking for an opportunity, really, which you can't criticise him for at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I think Lawrence, and he's been paying down his debt the last couple of years. He got into a debt hole a couple of years ago through COVID. He spent a couple of years really focusing on paying down that debt, which is great. And didn't he say something about they're going to focus a little bit more on dividends next year, not be so aggressive on trying to pay down the debt?
Yeah, they've spent the past 2 years pretty much entirely focused on paying down debt, and they've paid down a lot, as you say. Leverage has come down. But yeah, they just sort of mentioned that, yes, they'll still pay down some debt over the next 12 months, but they won't be quite so, it's all about debt. And they do aim to resume dividend payments by the end of next year. Maybe they'll declare a final dividend at the end of next year or something like that.
Right. Well, Jeff Davis didn't he mention something about, the sale of COD Manila, if they do indeed sell it, it's on the market, but it's only on the market for the right price. It's not a fire sale by any stroke of the imagination. That's all about paying down debt, right?
Exactly. I think that's a case of, let's have a look at whether or not we should sell it. It's an option. If we get some offers that make sense, we'll sell it. If not, we'll hold on to it. That seems to be the theme that put forward in the earnings call last week.
A little bit like what Light and Wonder did when they had the big change and they changed the name to Light and Wonder and Matt Wilson came on and all of that. They had 6 parts to their business. They got rid of 3 parts. They got rid of the lottery business, didn't they? And they kept the social casino, the iGaming and the traditional slot machine business, or the casino business, I think as they call it. Anyway, all right, very interesting. All right, let's move on. What's next? Oh, speak of the devil, here it is, Light and Wonder. Big result for them. They were crying poor, and then they come in with a massive result.
Yeah, they had a pretty good quarter, Light and Wonder, and also this story here is about the sole listing, which was completed today, by the way. So as of a couple of hours ago, Light and Wonder is now solely trading on the ASX. They wound up
no NASDAQ anymore.
No, that wound up a couple of hours earlier at 4 p.m. New York time on Thursday afternoon, which was early this morning our time here. And then within a couple of hours of that, they were trading only on the ASX once trading opened at 10 a.m. Sydney time here in Australia. So that's all done now. And only a
4-hour gap. 3 a.m. I was up working at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. Macau time to 7 a.m. Macau time. So only 4 hours for them off trading. Yeah. So they're an Australian company again now. Great.
They are a US company who only trades in Australia and counts many Australians among their executive team. So
Australian, a lot of Australians. Yeah, very good, very good. All right, so sole listing, and then this story is, as you say, it's about the sole listing, not about the profit they announced, which I think is coming up. All right, what's the next one, Oscar? The 13, everyone's favorite hotel in Macau.
Yeah, I remember, Andrew, you and I having a bit of a tour of the 13 back in the day. I think you've been in there a few times, haven't you?
I have. I've stayed there.
Yeah, you did stay there. Yeah, when I was in there, it was still a fair bit of concrete around, and quite a bit still to do. I think there's still a bit to do now. But of course, it's been bought and sold since then for a bit of a discount rate. Obviously, the new owners.
A bit of a discount. Wasn't it 7% or something of the asking price?
Yeah, significant discount. Of course, Stephen Hung was the man behind this idea of the 13. A pretty bit of a grandiose idea. And of course, they had their fleet of Rolls Royces and gold trimmings throughout. A bit of a fairy tale dream, really. Of course, with the dream of it one day having casino operations in there as well, which never even got close to becoming real.
66 tables it was, I
Yeah,
remember.
exactly. So, but we might see the 13 reopen. Well, we are going to see it reopen as a hotel. It's been reimagined inside, apparently, some new restaurants as well. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see what becomes of this one.
Yeah, I'll go down and check it out. I'll contact them. Maybe we'll get Piers to go down there or something, and we'll go down and have a look. It's located near One Oasis, of course, where a lot of executives stay, down the bottom of sort of the very bottom of Cotai, or the very top, very south of Cotai, and perhaps the very north of Colawan, you could argue. So it's been a real saga, this thing, over the last 15 years. But they're recruiting for some positions. They're going to make a go of it. I remain to be convinced, but I wish them all the best of luck. I hope it works out for them. And it's good for Macau if it does. It's good for Macau. All right, what's the next one, Oscar? Yes, our friend Chairman Tenko there, speaking at the IAG Expo, I see. So the big thing in the Philippines has been the slowing growth of e-games. Wow, it didn't go backwards. I thought it did go backwards, but some of the e-games include some of the stuff that isn't the iGaming, right? It includes the retail shops, doesn't it? So I guess those ones would grow, but the linkages for the apps to the iGaming, perhaps you better explain that to everyone, what happened there.
Yeah, well, look, first of all, the growth is year on year. So there's still year on year growth versus this time last year, because the e-games had grown so much over the past 12 months. But that growth had slowed compared to the second quarter, based on the regulatory restrictions that have come in governing that sector. Of course, the big one was previously the e-wallets would link directly to licensed online operators, PAG4 licensed operators only. So you could just go into your wallet and link directly to any licensed site. Can no longer do that. Those links have been removed under the order of the central bank.
Gcash and Maya are the two big ones.
Yep, that's right. So with those gone, I guess it's a little bit harder for these licensed sites to be identified by players. That's sort of the general consensus that the industry is talking about. That's the negative impact of that being removed. I guess you could say the positive impact is less direct links to gambling sites. The negative impact is no direct links to licensed gambling sites. So that's certainly impacted revenues within the licensed e-game sector. And of course, the other thing we're seeing in the Philippines, we have seen all year, is a bit of a decline in the land-based sector. VIP down, the high end all down, and visitation down to the Philippines in general from China and South Korea, two of its biggest markets.
Yeah, but that decline is not steady across the board, as we'll see in a moment, because we've got Solaire and Newport results coming up, and they're quite different. All right, let's move on. Oscar, what was next? You talk about this one, Ben. The Aristocrat results come out. Another great result for them. All the suppliers are doing well. Yeah,
look, the Aristocrat train just keeps rolling, really. Another strong year for them. $1 billion in, that's normalized.
The dragon train, perhaps?
I don't think they'd use that term. The dragon link keeps rolling.
There you go.
Yeah, so $1 billion in normalized, a little bit under in actual profit, but certainly just shows how much Aristocrat keeps growing. Their gaming segment really kicking goals. iGaming showing some growth, although probably not growing at the same rate as some of their other segments. Of course, they've got social casino as well. Aristocrat is just the market leader in many, many markets around the world, certainly in Asia, certainly in North America. And they just keep growing, and these results just speak to what they're doing at the moment. A lot of investment in R&D, and it's paying dividends.
The 1-2 of Aristocrat and Light and Wonder is a real phenomenon in our industry, isn't it? They're the top two. Well, certainly in Asia Pacific anyway. I know in the Americas, IGT's way up there as well. But it's great to see them doing so well. I guess. Excuse me, guys. I've still got a little bit of a cough. I guess that picture was at G2E this year.
That was, yes. Yep, G2E.
That's all the people that were on their stand. God, look how many people they had on their stand. Well over 100. Could be 150. 10, 20, 20, 40, yeah, bit over 100, 120, 130 or something. It was a massive stand. Well, wasn't it busy? But they were both busy. Aristocrat and Light & Wonder, both of their stands were packed and busy.
Yeah. I mean, they're always busy stands at G2E, aren't they? And obviously had a bit of a look around the Aristocrat booth and had some interesting. I like to look around what's happening in the the North American products being released there, which is obviously a focus of that show. But gee, they've got some interesting products they're creating, and it's always fascinating to see what the next evolution. There's always something new at these shows to have a look at.
You're a bit of a slot machine player. What do you like out of Aristocrat? What's the latest and greatest thing that you like it from them?
Well, I mean, in terms of what we saw at G2E, I mean, Aristocrat just recently was given the contract to produce Monopoly games, and they were showcasing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And it was actually pretty good, pretty innovative what they've done with the game. Looked highly entertaining. Hasn't had any flaws yet, but maybe next year when I'm in Vegas, I might have a bit of a play. See how we go.
Now, all of you out there in IAG streaming land, how many people think the Monopoly man has a monocle? Because he doesn't. It's a false memory, because the Planters Peanuts guy looks like the Monopoly man. He has a monocle. And here's a trivia question for you. What's his name, Mr. Monopoly? His new name is Mr. Monopoly. Do you know his old name?
No idea.
Rich Uncle Pennybags is his name. There's a bit of trivia for you. Yes, there you go. All right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? That's great that they've got Monopoly. As we mentioned before, the results we've got results here from both Bloomberry, which owns and operates Solaire, of course, Solaire Entertainment City and Solaire North in Quezon City, and in a minute we'll have a story, or later on we'll have a story, Newport World Resorts. Not so great results for Solaire this quarter, Ben.
Yeah, again, this harks back to the decline of the high-end segments, VIP and premium mass. In fact, Enrique Razon mentioned in his comments accompanying this results that it was VIP and premium mass that were really impacted at Entertainment City, at least. Solaire North, a bit more of a domestic market, continues to grow. So that reported year-on-year growth. But Entertainment City down. And the loss also because of spend on their new Mega Funnelo online gaming brand, which they launched probably at the wrong time into the market, given recent events in that. But I guess that's a long-term growth story for them.
There's a story we should do in IAG magazine, the Mega Funnelo, not specifically Mega Funnelo, but that style of online gaming, separate from the traditional iGaming, the style that sort of Digi Plus and Casino Plus have an evolution to a certain extent of sort of, the sort of the game show, TV show, social media, 2020s version of online gaming. There's something in that. And it's a different market to the traditional iGaming. And then obviously Solaire trying to meet that with their Mega Funnelo. And of course, we'll all be there at Solaire on the 5th of December for Mad Manila on Friday, the 5th of December. Did I say September? If I said September, I meant to say December. If I said December, forget what I just said. Friday, 5th of December, we'll be there at BRB, Baccarat Room and Bar, the former Baccarat Room and Bar, that very, very nice room downstairs when you first walk into Solaire Entertainment City, right near the front reception there, not at the Sky Tower, but at the original tower is reception, and there's stairs downstairs there, and there's a really nice sort of Chesterfield lounges, and very, 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 very nice. We're having the event there, and on Friday the 5th. So if you are in the Philippines and you want to come to that, if you're watching this, we're more than happy to have you there. To contact us if you don't have an invitation, and we'll get you one, because it's a great little venue.
I think it's Friday the 12th, Andrew, for Manila.
It is. Thank you for correcting me, Ben. I knew there was a reason you're on these things. Yeah. Friday the 5th, of course, is Wynn Palace, our party, our Christmas party. We have a Christmas party on Friday the 5th in Macau. Then a week later, a Christmas party on Friday the 12th in Solaire. I stand corrected. We will be there on the 12th. Okay, very good. Next one. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for rescuing me there. Oh, here we go. Here it is. I'll leave this one to you as well.
Yeah, look, I think that Newport and Travellers has been, I don't know if you'd call it, benefited from probably being a little bit weaker historically in some of these gaming sectors. So, of course, Kevin Tan made some significant changes to the executive team middle of last year.
I think you're being a bit. I think you're being a bit harsh. He's done a lot of really good things, Kevin.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, they've gone from a low base historically, and then over the past 12 months, with the changes they've made, they're starting to see a lot of improvement, which has probably shielded them from the negative impact around VOP that some of the operators are seeing, because Travellers and Newport have been actually actively improving their business in that sector. So they're going from a low base in that sector historically, but now they're starting to really improve those operations. So what you're seeing is more positive results coming out of Newport, who are now quite clearly the number 2 in Manila in the entertainment city. Though they used to be number 4 back at one time.
They were always number 4. They were always number 4. Bit of an MGM Macau story there. That lifted themselves up. And you know what they've done? They've done the hard yards in terms of software, in terms of the sort of culture. They've spent a couple of years really addressing the corporate culture of their staff. Letting certain people go that they thought were there too long. And I'm not talking about senior executive. Obviously, they're very well documented what happened with the big 3 that went on that Saturday on the 1st of June 2023, if I'm not mistaken. That's very well documented. And then Nilo came in as the CEO, Lawrence Hawke as the CFO, and obviously, David Jordan was there for quite some time at the beginning of all that, now gone to Hoyana, and John Lucas is Chief Hospitality Officer. Of course, Lance Cotreau is the Chief Casino Officer, now a Chief Operating Officer. But not just those guys, also all the team below. It seems if you're on LinkedIn and you follow them on LinkedIn, as both I know you do and I do, it seems every few days they're appointing a new director of this or director of that or assistant VP of this or whatever, and they're very proud of it. So that's great. And I was there at the opening of Resorts World Manila, as it was back then in 2009, soft opening in 9. Full opening in early 10, if I'm not mistaken. And if a property's been open since 2009, it's 2025 now. That's 16 years under Genting. Not much maintenance, not much upkeep. Pretty hard to keep it fresh. And so they've really, I think they've changed that property more in the last 2 years than they did in the previous 12.
Agreed.
Yeah, and they brought in some new product as well. They've got Gordon Ramsay, a few other bits and pieces. And, of course, they're opening the Nara Palms next year. Next year, they'll have the old Maxims. They're opening Nara Palms, which will be their premium ends, all-suite product with the villas. I think there's 3 villas, each with its own small pool, or there's a big pool in the front of the 3. It's been a long, long time since I've been there. But that's going to be their premium high-end product, which is great too. So, and of course, home of the IAG Expo in September 7 to 9, 2026. Save the date. All right, let's move on. What's next? Well, that's what we were talking about, the SJM. You wrote this up yesterday. Tell us all about it, man.
Yeah, look, it's a challenging time for SJM, particularly with the satellite closures and their significant exposure to those satellites. Of the 11 that we had at the start of this year, 9 of them were linked with SJM, operating under the SJM license. And of course, as per government mandate, as those satellites close, the concessionaire is required to absorb those employees, not allowed to let them all go. They have to absorb them. Of course, they get the tables and machines as well, but they have to absorb these employees. So, there's going to be a period which SGM has experienced for a number of years now, because it used to have many more satellites than that too. So this has been ongoing for a couple of years now, this satellite issue.
I was just wondering what the max. I was just musing to myself in the background what the max was. I'm going to say 22. I'm going to say that it was, I think, 22 satellites at the absolute peak. Now, that would have been maybe around 2013, 2014, 2015. But when I know it went down to 11 in the beginning of the new concessionaires, January 1, 2023, 9 for SJM, plus 1 for Galaxy Waldo and 1 for Melco Grand Dragon, as you reminded me earlier. But I reckon 22. I remember it was 18 at one point, but I think it did get as high as 22 at one stage.
Yeah. Yeah, look, so I mean, this is going to be a bit of a drag on SJM for a few years now until things start to settle in and bed in, and they can, apply their staff around their various properties in the most efficient way. Of course, they're currently
they'll get like a Pot 16 into the fold though. There won't be a profit share there. Wonder how that'll work with Success Universe and Angela Leung, the existing sort of owners that are rev sharing at the moment. I wonder how that'll work. I guess they'll get some more shares in SJM or something. We yet to know, but we'll know in the next 50 days. I mean, they've got to get on with it. They've got to announce it. So you'll be doing a story. I mean, it could be today, it could be tomorrow. We don't know, but there'll be an announcement very, very soon, you'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And then for SJM, of course, the other priorities are continuing to ramp Grand Lisboa Palace. That's been a bit of a slow ramp. They were the last of the Cotai resorts to open, of course, so they were.
Yep.
They didn't get early mover advantage or anything. So, quite a few headwinds SJM are continuing to deal with, and I think we're going to see that for some time yet.
Look, to their credit, whenever I go down to Grand Lisboa Palace, it's a beautiful property. The hardware's magnificent. They've got some really lovely things down there. There's a restaurant down there that defies explanation, with this sort of garden in the restaurant kind of thing, and these private rooms, each one really individual. They've got the whole garden in the middle, which is very Parisian-like. It's actually really, really beautiful. But location's a little bit of an issue. It's a little bit further away than the others, and staffing as well. Some issues around staff. I think they haven't quite got that right. Again, a little bit of a victim of their history. They've historically employed so many people in Macau. They've probably got too many staff, and now with all these satellites closing, they've got to take all those staff as well. So they're probably all bumping into each other down there. So some issues there. Yeah. But anyway, we wish them well, SJM. We hope that they do get those things sorted out and do move on, because a healthy SJM is good for Macau. All right. What's next? I'll talk a bit about this one. So this is really interesting. This guy, Zhijiang, that's my best attempt at the Putonghua pronunciation. I got to be careful what I say here. But he has been a person that has been a sort of we've got the word kingpin there, haven't we? And he's been a person that's been involved in these compounds in Cambodia and Myanmar and that sort of thing. And there's been a legal struggle. It's been going on for a number of years. He actually renounced his Chinese citizenship. He's mainland Chinese ethnically, but he renounced his citizenship. He got a Cambodian citizenship. So I think, isn't he is he Cambodian? There's 43-year-old Cambodian Chinese, yeah, but Chinese only by ethnicity, not by passport. He actually renounced it. And so his argument was, how can you extradite me back to China when I'm neither Chinese nor in China? But the Thai government have agreed to do it, and he's going to be going back to China, and that's going to be very, very interesting for him, because his activities in Southeast Asia have incurred the wrath and the ire of mainland China. Some very, very big activities there. I won't go into it too much, but you can Google it and you can read what we've written in IAG over the years as well. So that's really interesting. Watched a really interesting video on YouTube the other day about how the US, the UK, and China are really cooperating around this issue, because these sort of scam centers popping up in Southeast Asia are not just targeting Chinese now. They're targeting people from all over the world, the whole planet. And it's a real scourge. I mean, they're really, really nasty places. Not really anything to do with gaming anymore. Why do we cover this in IAG? Well, we don't cover it as much as we did, because it's really stepping away from gaming. I mean, as an editorial person, as an editorial leader, Ben, what's your thoughts on those scam centers and the relationship to our industry? It's given our industry a bad name, unfairly to our industry, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, it's certainly there's an online gambling element. There are some operations of illegal online gambling sites that are offering gambling services all around the world. But as you say, like really, a lot of these scam hubs are focused on, everything, human trafficking, to love scams, to crypto scams, to anything you can think of, really. So anything, as a money laundering hub, anything around this is really, the center of what they're really doing. And to the point where I think that online gambling operations are a much smaller part than perhaps they once were, as these hubs grow and more pop up.
Well, my understanding is they don't make enough money from online gambling. They make more money from this other shenanigans they get involved in. But look, anyway, he's going to China, so I think that's probably a good thing. Cleaning, we've got to try and clean this sort of stuff up. We don't want this sort of stuff getting around. So the more that they can clean it up, the better. Anyway, let's move on. What's the next one, Oscar? Here's some better news. It's Grand Prix weekend this weekend in Macau.
Yeah, it's been a few years since I've been to the Macau Grand Prix, but I've spent a few nice Sunday afternoons up in either the Light and Wonder room or the Aristocrat room. They often book suites upper there.
Jason and I are going on Sunday.
Yeah, it's sort of a nice spot to sit down and look down at the straight, and it's always a good atmosphere in Macau on Grand Prix weekend. Traffic's a bit tricky, but it's good to hear those engines roaring.
Yeah, I mean, this is historical. A lot of people wouldn't know this, but the reason, my summation of the reason of the history behind this was the four people that started STDM way back in 1960. Stanley, here's a test. Stanley Ho was sort of the junior of the four. There was Teddy Yip, Ip Hon, and the other one, it'll come to me later. And one of them, I think, I should know this. I think it was Teddy Yip was the one that was a motor racing enthusiast and a driver himself and really into motor racing and brought the Grand Prix to Macau, if I'm not mistaken. Because what year are we up to now? It must be nearly the 80th, mustn't it? Or is it past the 80th now?
I honestly can't recall, Andrew. I know I wrote about this.
Oh, there you go. 70. There we go. The Oscars are helping us out. 70 seconds. So we're now, how's good's our maths? 25 back to 1925, add 28, so that's 53. So it started in 53 and they got the license in 60. There you go. So maybe it wasn't Teddy Yip, I don't know, but anyway, he certainly promoted, and that's why SJM historically have always had a lot to do with the Grand Prix. They've been a big part of the Grand Prix historically. And it's a great circuit because Macau's got these tiny little narrow roads, of course, so you get lots of accidents, which is always good to watch. And I mean, obviously, you don't want anyone to be hurt, but it's sort of fun to watch. And you've got these great little windy, they come down the straight there, and then they go up the hill and past the hospital and wind their way around. Then there's that crazy hairpin turn that's banked the wrong way. I think they slow down to as slow as maybe 60 or something around that corner, which is incredibly slow for these guys. And getting 500,000 people to Macau on the weekend, that'll be good for business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just going to say, Andrew, that the Macau Grand Prix has hosted some of the greatest drivers of all time have driven in this race. Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, your Damon Hills. You've had many over the years have raced on this track. So it's been a bit of a breeding ground. And I think as well as being an entertaining race, I think just the historical. It's just a nice thing to have on the resume that you drove in or you won the Macau Grand Prix. It's quite a unique sort of race these days.
Yeah, I think all the world's top drivers, they're expected to do the Macau Grand Prix on the way up. It's part of the sort of rite of passage of becoming one of the world's greatest, motorsport drivers is doing the Macau Grand Prix anyway. I mean, they all start in karting, don't they, as kids, and then they move their way up from there. And Macau Grand Prix is something you do on the way up. Anyway, let's go to the next one, Oscar. You were mentioning Casa Real. Maybe just do this one very quickly because we talked about satellites at length.
Yeah, I mean, again, let's keep this really short, but this is the latest announcement yesterday by SJM. Casa Real will shut down next Friday. When that happens, there'll be 5 left in operation, Andrew.
5 green bottles up on the wall, standing on the wall. And so what are the 3 that are still operating? I wonder. Gee, I should know that off the top of my head. I don't.
Well, they're in the story there. So
are they? Where are they?
down around there
Sleeps
somewhere.
early.
Yeah.
Oh, Landmark. Okay. Fortuna. That probably should be not Fortune. And I'll come back. So Jay's holding out to the grim death, it seems. Maybe Jay will be in there at Casino Comeback. Jay Chan, of course, I'm referring to chairman and CEO, or just chairman and CEO, I think, of Paradise, the operator of Comeback. Well, not the casino technically. The operator of the casino technically is SJM, but the rest of the property Comeback, just not too far from here from our office. We can just walk there in a few minutes. He'll be going to the grim death. I think he might be there on New Year's Eve at 11:59, closing tables down. Yeah, interesting. All right, let's go on to the next one. Macau, strength to strength. We were talking about this a lot at the Power 50, how much the GGR's gone up.
Yeah, I mean, there was very briefly a little bit of concern when a Golden Week in October wasn't as strong as expected, but the rest of the month just was extremely strong. And then October, of course, became by far the biggest month post-COVID, certainly exceeded all expectations, which is amazing when you consider that Golden Week was seen as disappointing. And then from all reports, November, the first 9-10 days of November have been extremely strong as well, based on what we've heard so far. So, yeah, I mean, we've seen this a lot in the past few months from the various investment banks, is raising Macau forecasts again and again. Expectations pretty high for Q4.
What was it, number 30? Was it 30.6? Did that ring a bell? That rings a bell in my head. Was it 30.6?
It was around about that for this one. Some analysts are saying 31-ish in the 31s. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if we have that number in your story, but should be over 30. 30, of course, I mean $30 billion US for the year, which is 240 billion Macau patakas for the year. Yeah. Oh, there we go. 30.7. I was out by what's 100 million US dollars between friends. The numbers are insane in Macau, isn't it? It's like, Macau first, daylight second, big numbers. You consider the second biggest market in the world. Second biggest market in Asia Pacific, anyway, is Singapore, 5 billion, Philippines, 5 billion, Australia, 5 billion, or roughly about 5 billion. Las Vegas, well, Nevada, I think, is about $1 billion a month. So it's about 12 billion. That's all of Nevada, not just Las Vegas. That includes Reno and various other places. Yeah. And no junket commissions to pay, or very, very few junket commissions to pay, as opposed to the old days. Of course, in 2013, the high water mark, it did get to 45 billion. So we were sort of tracking at 2/3 of the high water mark, but we're not. But back at those days, VIP Baccarat represented about 70% of all GGR. And if you were giving away, let's say, roughly half of that GGR, or 40% going to government, roughly, and then maybe half of the remainder, 30 to 50 in extreme cases. So let's average those and say 40. Yeah, that's right. It was sort of 40-40-20 model, wasn't it? So 40% of 70%, last time I checked, is 28%. 28%. Well, there you go. That's the same. It's roughly a third, right? So 28% of 45 billion. So it would actually be 72%. I'm just tapping it away on my calculator now. 32 billion. So if you took the junket commission, my rough back of the envelope calculation of the junket commissions, if you took the junket commissions off the high watermark, that's the high watermark, it's the highest it ever got. The net would be 32 billion. Well, what are we tracking at? 30.7 billion. We're nearly there. So certainly back beyond 2019 levels, aren't we? We're nearly at the sort of the profitability equivalent of the high watermark, and even more so because they learned how to cut costs during COVID. So EBITDA must be at all-time high right now.
Yeah. Well summarized.
That's what I think anyway. Thank you. Okay.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Okay, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? Oh, that's it. All right, we got there. That was a long one, but there's lots to talk about this week, and we know a thing or two about the industry, so we get waxing lyrical about it. And we're not so busy this week as we were last week, and we have got the Power 50 tonight. But we are doing a lot of 2026 preparation work, aren't we?
Yeah, it's we're certainly starting to look ahead. Plenty to do, Andrew. It's our next event, obviously we've got our two MADs in December, as you said, Macau After Dark on the 5th and Manila After Dark on the 12th. But then we look forward to off to Barcelona in January to ICE.
We are, yeah.
But so we're starting to look ahead to all of those.
You must be working on the December issue of IAG magazine, the traditional Philippine special.
Yes. So that's coming along quite well at the moment, and I won't give any teasers just yet as to what's in there, but certainly it is a Philippines-focused cover story and a couple of other Philippines-related stories, plus more in December issue, Andrew.
And we're already putting together our issues for 2026. We've got some big names going to be on the cover of IAG in 2026. Some very, very senior people in the industry from all around the world. It'll be year 2 of our merger with CDC Gaming. Year 1 is just sort of a settling in year. 2025 went really well, I think, and that merger's been a big success. So IAG pretty much kept IAG's identity, and CDC's kept CDC's identity. I think we've managed that quite well in keeping what's good about each company separately, but then behind the scenes, taking advantage of the capabilities and knowledge of each other to improve each company. So that's been a big success too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we had a great event there in Vegas for the day 0 party at CDC. So the first CDC IAG event, combined event that we hosted. So that was great, and much more to come. So 2020 will be a really great year, Andrew. So I can't wait for it.
I think it's going to be great. And let me slightly correct you. It was definitely a CDC event, wasn't a combined event, but it had the IAG events magic behind it. Let's put it that way. But definitely a CDC event, the first ever IAG style CDC event on the 5th of October this year, the Sunday night before G2E, featuring the 10 Women Rising. Every year CDC names 10 women rising in the gaming industry in the Americas. And I can tease to everybody that might be watching this from the Americas that next year CDC will be hosting not one event like it did this year, not 2 events, but in fact 3 events spread throughout the year. So CDC starting to grow its events business, much as IAG has done over the last 8 years or so. So 2026 is going to be a great year, and we'll be back next Friday for the IAG live streaming show. Where will we be? Will we still be here? Yes, we'll still be here. I'll still be in Macau. You will still be in Sydney. We're actually sitting put for a little while. And have a great weekend. If you're going to the Macau Grand Prix, maybe I'll see you there. Enjoy. If you're not, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week at IAG and next Friday for the next episode of the IAG live streaming show. Have a great weekend in Sydney, Ben.
Will do, Andrew, and I'm looking forward to. I actually got a wine luncheon tomorrow down at Balmoral Beach, so I'm looking forward to that. Bit of a break. Yeah.
Ben's a bit of a wine aficionado, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't mind a wine or 7.
Why stop at 7? All right, have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you next in person, Ben, at ICE Barcelona on the 18th of January. We'll be all arriving there, maybe the 17th. The event starts on the 19th, and I'll be going to I'm planning to go to a couple of properties in the world on the way to getting there. So there's not much rest for me.
Yep, it'll be I look forward to getting back on the road, Andrew. Enjoying my break at the moment for a few months, but once we get into 2026, we're on the road pretty quickly.
Yep, exactly. All right, bye for now, everyone. See you next week, and have a great weekend. Bye.